Welcome back to Radical and Relevant. I'm Matthew Kelly. We're exploring the genius of the life and teachings of Jesus in the Gospel. Today's reading comes from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5, verses 21 through 43. Remember, you're listening for a word, a phrase, or an idea to anchor your day in the Gospels. And when Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered about him, and he was beside the sea. Then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he fell at his feet and besought him, saying, "My little girl is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, so that she may be made well and live." And Jesus went with him, and a great crowd followed him and thronged about him. And there was a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years, and who had suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard the reports about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd, and touched his garment. For she had said to herself, "If I can just touch even his garments, I will be made well." And immediately the hemorrhage ceased, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone forth from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my garments?" His disciples said to him, "Lord, you see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had been done to her, came in fear and trembling, and fell down before Jesus and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, "Your daughter is dead. Don't trouble the teacher any further." But ignoring what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." And he allowed no one to follow him except Peter and James and John, the brother of James. When they came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, he saw a tumult and people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he had entered, he said to them, "Why do you make a tumult and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But he put them all outside, and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him, and went in to where the child was. And then taking her by the hand, he said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And immediately the girl got up and walked, for she was 12 years old. And immediately they were overcome with amazement. And he strictly charged them that no one should know this, and told them to give the little girl something to eat. So we have two epic stories here today, and of course we're just looking for a word or a phrase or an idea. We've got the ruler of the synagogue, whose faith is in Israel, and is in the group of people who are basically saying this is not the Messiah, and yet his little girl becomes sick, and I think, as any of us would do for our children, this is almost anything, right? And so he comes to Jesus, and Jesus comes to help, and on the way he meets this woman, and she touches his clothes. That's all. Touches his clothes. I want you to think about that next time you go to Mass, where you receive Jesus in the Eucharist, body, blood, soul, and divinity. Jesus entire. This woman just touched his clothes. Whatever it is you need from God, whatever it is you need to be healed, in whatever way you need to be healed, next time you go to communion, humbly ask the Lord to heal you. Whatever that is. whatever problem you have in your life, ask Jesus to heal that problem. There is power in the Eucharist. There's power in the name of Jesus. We need to begin to engage His power in our lives. God bless you. Have a great day. And remember, be bold and be Catholic.